So Jake Paul wins a lopsided unanimous decision over Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. I said heading into the fight, as you'll recall, Raheem, expect Chavez Jr. to disappoint with his performance. Where he did surprise me though is I thought he'd come out with a little bit of a head of steam and then fade later in the middle portion of the fight. He actually did the opposite. He came out, didn't didn't apply any pressure, moved around the ring, didn't throw any punches, and then in round four, it was the most round four. Well, round nine, he winds up doing his best work in the middle of the fight, and then a little bit at the end of the fight. So I give him credit there. I give him credit for making it through the fight because it looked like early when Chavez Jr. wasn't letting any punches go and he wasn't applying any pressure. It looked like, he's going to retire on his stool for the fourth time in his professional career. But he did it, and he did pull through the fight. I got to give credit to Jake Paul. I've been critical of Jake Paul about appealing to the lowest common denominator, industry plant kind of energy, being famous for the sake of being famous. Started with Paris Hilton, passed down to Kardashian. Now it's the Paul family. Yeah, they wrestle. Yeah, they market and do all this, but they're former Disney stars who are kind of famous for being famous and are now doing everything they do, right? But Jake has gotten better. Jake boxed well. Jake fought well. That doesn't mean I think he's beating Gilberto Ramirez or anything, but this is definitely a better Jake Paul than was just a couple years ago. He, used to be a one-trick pony, sometimes would stab the body, come over the top with that right hand. And he's not even throwing the right hand like that now. He's throwing it sharper. Sometimes it's down the pipe, and when he sweeps it, it's a cleaner looking punch. Maybe it's lost a little bit of its knockout power because he's not just chucking that thing and lunging it. It's coming down sharper, but he's gotten better, and his feet were educated. His jab, he won this fight off the jab alone. The up jab, constantly jabbing from the hip and leaving the lead hand low. He felt comfortable in that stance all night. Chavez Jr. never really made him have to pick his hands up and fight out of a high guard. So I give him credit for his footwork. I give him credit for his up jab. And some of the combination and that sweeping right hand to the body off the up jab was all night. And then he started to mix in combinations through the uppercut, off the jab, down the stretch. He faded late. And there was a few moments when Chavez would throw just more than one punch at a time. Jake would give himself defensively after making a miss one punch. He'd do some kind of maneuver with the waist, but then he's in no man's land. He's not looking up at Chavez, his radar, his eyes aren't up at the opponent, and he's just there. And a better fighter than Chavez is going to take advantage of that. But I got to give him credit, man. He looked like a legit pro and has looked like a legit pro for a while, but he got better. And Chavez Jr. did exactly what I expected him to do, so I wasn't disappointed. I don't know. What do you think, Raheem?
I almost nodded out, Sean.
Yeah.
While you were talking.
Yeah.
Not because you're not a fascinating fella, but it's a reflex now. I don't care to watch the development of Jake Paul. I'm sure what he said is true.
You're not captivated? You're not.
Listen, and I would offer this as a backhanded compliment in that you're doing what a fighter at your level should be doing. You should be fighting guys that used to be somebody that could potentially have a great night and beat you, but probably won't. And you should look good against them. That's not the kind of fight that I'm going to get excited about. And you have no amateur records. You're not an accomplished traditional boxer, certainly, yet you are an excitement guy. You're an entertainment guy. You're a spectacle guy. This was not exciting. There was no entertainment, and it wasn't a spectacle. So I'm not in. So do your job. Like, this is, to me, it's a Wednesday in the office. I'm not watching you fucking do your desk work.
Well, to your point, he's coming off the biggest thing ever. It's the most streamed, the most watched. Oh my God.
Spectacle.
I was there. It was such a big deal. Then why in your very next fight was it so, to your point, ho-hum, no spectacle?
Because you know what, Sean? Because it should be. Because if you are genuine in trying to build a traditional boxing career and compete with legitimate fighters who are coming through the ranks as a fighter would do in a normal life situation on the trajectory of a world champion like Ramirez is, then you should go through the gears. You should fight certain types of opponents, look good against them. You should build a record against actual traditional boxers. Everything doesn't need to be a spectacle. It doesn't all have to be, the biggest show on earth. And it doesn't need to be a fucking UFC 50-year-old guy, or it can be exactly what Chavez was. And I can say, I'll just watch the highlights and listen to Sean's breakdown. And I watched that Schofield fight. And let me tell you what, man, it's also a different hour here. I could have been at the fight. I really was. I was like scheduled, slotted to go. And instead, I decided to stay here, do a small hall show on Seconds Out with TalkSport YouTube boxing channel, and host that much smaller fight than obviously Jake Paul on pay-per-view DAZN. However, I was excited about the fight I was at last night. This is again, small hall show. Guys were in there fighting for their lives, bro. It was an incredible night. And most of the people watching this won't know a single one of the names if I were to name everybody on the card. But I'm in it for that. And when Jake Paul offers that, like, level of entertainment, or, a spectacle that is something you can't not watch, then I'm going to watch it and report on. We're going to talk about it. I like that. I'm bored with it. I like that he's done something that I think he knew we were going to be bored with. I don't think it should have been a pay-per-view. I think we should have gave that shit away. I am incredibly not disappointed, but just with Chavez. You know what I mean? Like, that's the best word I can come up with.
That's why I was able to actually give him credit. When I'm giving Chavez Jr. credit, I'm impressed by my own ability at how low I lowered the bar.
Yeah, I wanted Chavez to do something that when I talked to you, you were like, I'm not going to tell you what happened, just watch it. Like, I wanted somebody to say, I need to watch it. And what I didn't know until the night was that I didn't need to watch it. And I would never come on here with only having seen a highlights of a fight of fighters that I anticipate caring about, right? Like, you've made me watch certain guys I wouldn't otherwise watch, and you were always right. But I have covered Jake Paul from the beginning, and to me, this might be one of the most impressive decisions he's made. While it is definitely up there with the least entertaining, the least interesting picks he's made, which is telling me that he wants to create a experience that will give him a skill set, or at least give him the confidence that he has a skill set to start competing with real traditional fighters. What might be what's next. That might be Ramirez. I think that's a huge bite to take. I believe he would have fought Canelo if Turkey didn't pull the rug from under their feet. And so I respect Paul. This is not me disrespecting Paul or disrespecting the fight even. It's me saying, well, now you're doing the real thing. And I'm going to treat it like a guy who's got as much experience as you have doing the real thing, which is a fight I can fucking miss.
Right,
I'm
right.
perfectly happy to see those low lights.
11-1 cruiserweight was fighting Chavez Jr. anyway.
Yeah.
So just because he's Jake Paul, you're gonna care? No, I'm treating you like a fighter. Like,
exactly.
Right.
Exactly. So yeah, I don't think Senior should answer Junior's calls until I'm ready, because I don't know what the fuck Chavez Jr. is in there doing. I know he's grabbing a payday, but my goodness, man, my goodness. Well, I mean, really, fucking 100 punches in 10 rounds.
Yeah,
no mas, no mas.
Let me ask you this then about Jake Paul. And I don't think he would do this because he's come this far in improving as a fighter, putting the work in the gym. Why would he cheat himself in finding out what he's really got in a championship fight? But I wouldn't put it past Jake Paul. I don't think he would do it, but I wouldn't put it past Jake Paul to set up a title fight, to say, hey, I've made it this far. I really want to be world champion. I'm going to get what I want one way or the other. You're losing this fight, if you know what I mean. And I wouldn't put it past Zurdo Ramirez, who quickly ate himself out of the light heavyweight division Zurdo's a really nice guy, a good fighter, but his discipline looks like is deteriorated since moving up in weight. He puts on a lot of weight in between fights. I have no doubt that he can handle Jake Paul, but is there a chance he winds up losing to him anyways? If you know what I mean.
Before the Canelo kerfuffle, I might have been more easily convinced that as a possibility. Me and Jake Paul are not great buddies. It's not like he calls me on my birthday or I'm at his house on Thanksgiving. However, I have been there from the very, very, very beginning, and I have experienced this guy multiple times in different off-camera settings. I believe he's a real deal guy in that what he wants is to be world champion, and it would not satisfy him to just trick us all into believing he was a world champion. I don't think he has that type of egomaniacal uh, disingenuousness to just want to be thought of that way and the entire time knowing he's not that. He needs to be that, and then he'll be insufferable. Like he wants to legitimately be the most obnoxious boxer in history because none of us can say shit to him because he became world champion. If that is a hollow victory, if that's just like a show title, a fucking participation trophy, or corruption at worst, I don't think it does anything for him. I think, in fact, it'd probably eat him alive. So, because, and I reason I raised the Canelo thing is because we know Canelo wasn't going to do that. Whatever was going to happen in that Canelo fight, it wasn't going to be Canelo taking a payday
Down, right,
to lay down for fucking Jake Paul. So I believe he really was trying to make that fight. I think, I think God stepped in and saved him. But if he could have made it, he would have made it, and he would have went in there on a completely legitimate competitive field and try to beat Canelo Alvarez. So if he was going to try to do that, I believe that he thinks he can probably beat Ramirez easier than whatever he thought Canelo was going to bring. And for Ramirez's sake, it would be seductive, bro, because if you got that opportunity, it's going to be two fights, right? You could be like, I could let him get this. And then I know I'm set up for a rematch, which is going to be way bigger than the first fight, which is going to be probably double the money because I'll hold out for it. And then I'll just get my title back. You know what I mean? And then I'll go for the unification. I'll make crazy money, right? Like if I imagine that scenario. Now, I don't know Ramirez personally at all, really. Maybe interviewed him a few times. I've been in the gym with him a few times, but I don't know him. I can't really speak that directly firsthand to his character beyond whatever you can glean from an interview. However, he is a competitor. He is a world champion. He
He's on a
comes from
different
a
level
rich
than Jake Paul.
heritage. He comes from a rich heritage. You know what I mean? I don't
Yeah.
think it's something that he wants to be known as a world champion who gave up his title to Jake Paul. With that said, I anything's possible. It could be something that is in Ramirez's mind without Jake Paul even participating in it, in the sense. Like it can be one of those kind of unspoken things that if it goes my way, you're gonna get two paydays and they're gonna be fucking massive. And I'm not saying that I'm setting the fight up or telling you to lay down on nothing, but there's a way to have that conversation without anybody speaking the words. And that is a threat. That is a danger in something like this, because the truth is, Ramirez probably is not going to be undisputed cruiserweight champion.
No, he's not beating Opataya. None of
You
those guys are
understand?
beating Badu, Jack, and Zurdo are not beating Opataya.
And there you have it. So if that is in fact true, and it probably is, then maybe Ramirez has one more decent payday because he's holding a title that is so valuable because the undisputed has to happen.
Two
So
titles.
one payday,
Right.
Uh, however, if he takes this Jake Paul sidetrack, which I don't think Turkey Al Sheikh is going to be happy with, but won't be able to do anything about, if he wants to promote the undisputed cruiserweight champion, he's going to have to fucking deal with it, right? And that could be Jake's get back for taking Canelo from, for Turkey taking Canelo from Jake. I could see all of that in the mix of the narrative, and then Ramirez really being like, what's this title? How much can I get out of this title before they get it off of me? You can talk yourself into a lot of shit when you're
Yeah.
talking about
Money
tens of
talks.
millions of dollars,
Money
you
talks.
know? But as far as his character, as far as what kind of sportsman he is and all of that, I have to assume that he is not that type of guy. I have to
Right.
assume that he's 100% a competitor and wants a legitimate fight no matter who it's with. And title is going to get you as much money as you can get while you fight as hard to keep it as you can. I have to assume that. And I have nothing to say different other than human nature.
Yeah, and what really made me, I'll just close with this. What made me bring it up was Jamal Charlo's rant a month ago, where he said fights are scripted, even at the championship level. So Jamal kind of gave me the license to put the question out there, at least. But it's a credit to Jake that we're even discussing him fighting Zurdo Ramirez. That is a testament to how far he's been coming in his development.
It's a testament to how good a promoter he is and how well he can
For
maneuver
sure.
this boxing game, knowing what people's incentives are. Again, 11-1 fighter. Is he 12-1 now after
12-1.
this 12-1 fighter is not likely to get a Ramirez championship title shot if his name's not Jake Paul.
He
Like
never
right,
hurt Chavez, by the way. So that power, now that it fought a guy with legitimate punch resistance,
right,
not right. So
right. So if he does get that fight, and I think it's very likely that he does, and somehow knocks out Ramirez,
that ain't
the
happening.
questions are going to be coming from everywhere, as they should. Like it's going to be hard to believe, but if I had to gamble, and honestly, I'm saying this honestly, if I had to gamble on whether or not either of these guys was going to do something untoward or, swallow it, as they say, I don't think so. I don't think it suits.
I
I
bring
don't
it
think
up
it
because I,
suits.
I right now, from what I see from both fighters, that's the only way he wins. If he goes in there and just actually fights Gilberto Ramirez, it's not happening. It's
Yeah.
not happening.
It's the impossible. She's daring to do the impossible.
Right.
But uh, again, it's the Canelo fight that convinces me, oh, this guy actually is delusional. Like this, which is you have to
Required
be.
is
It's a
required to be a good fighter.
required illness. To the degree that your delusion affects you is what comes out in the wash. I want to see it.